kafir, who is the mushrik, is given the mahar that he paid her. And it's paid to him instead. She's not coming back, but the mahar is there for you. What happened to the men who got returned back? They left Medina, some of them. They left Medina. They escaped, and one of them killed his guard. They escaped from Quraysh. And what did they do? They caused all kinds of trouble for Quraysh in the direction of Mecca, towards outside of the Prophet's city. Because the Prophet ﷺ is commanded to return them back. So he returned them back. And when the Prophet ﷺ returned them back, all kinds of problems, all kinds of problems happened to them. Do we have an issue with the stream? What's happening?
What did you say?
Okay, it's most likely we have to restart. So we can do that in the break, inshallah. In the break, we'll restart all the data connections and everything like that. Usually if it's breaking up, it's a problem on YouTube so we'll restart everything in the masjid, inshallah. But what happened was that they caused all kinds of problems because all they did is leave Medina. So then, they've done what the treaty says. The Prophet sent them back to Mecca. But before they reach Mecca, they get rid of their guards and then they start causing all kinds of problems for Quraysh. And so in the end, Quraysh went to the Prophet and said, is it okay if we don't follow this part of the treaty and you just keep them? And they actually came to the Prophet and asked him that we would like it if this part of the treaty doesn't get implemented. Just please, can you take them back because they're causing all kinds of problems for us. So he took them back. So now they came back to Medina. And ultimately, Quraysh broke the treaty. And they were always going to break the treaty. Everybody, you think 10 years they're going to stick to their word? They broke their treaty by helping one of the allied tribes against the other. And they were not allowed to help against a tribe that was allied with the Prophet ﷺ, but they did. And they provided support to a tribe that was allied with the Prophet against a tribe that was allied with the Prophet ﷺ, and they broke their treaty. When they broke their treaty, they knew that they had done something really, really foolish. So they actually came to the Prophet ﷺ to beg him to renew the treaty for them. Because they knew now, oh no, we've miscalculated. The Prophet ﷺ has now got very strong resources and a very strong army, and we've just broken the treaty. So they came to ask the Prophet ﷺ to renew the treaty, but he didn't meet with them and he didn't accept to renew it. And he refused to renew the treaty. And then he prepared the army for the Fath of Mecca, and the conquest of Mecca happened, and Quraysh, the disbelievers of Quraysh, were defeated once and for all. For subhanAllah, how something that Umar was so upset about it when the treaty was signed. And you can say that only maybe Abu Bakr was from the people who saw that this has something behind it. And Umar, even to the point that the Muslims couldn't sacrifice their animals. They couldn't bring their knife to the neck to slaughter the animal. They couldn't bear to do it because of how they were just shocked that what a treaty had been signed and what is this? And then in the end, what happened? Victory came from it. So this is telling that this treaty you think is something bad is a huge victory for you. But you don't see it yet. Also from here is the permissibility of signing a treaty with an enemy to the Muslims, and if that treaty has a limited term, and if it's in the interest of the Muslims to do it, even if the terms of the treaty are not favorable to Islam. Now, that's why I'm reluctant to mention specific countries and situations and issues, but there are situations where people would benefit greatly from realizing what the lesson of Hudaybiyyah was. There are times when you cannot, the best thing you can do with the kuffar is just to have some kind of temporary peace between you and them, which allows you to breathe and regroup. And that is not forbidden to have that. So it's not forbidden, and you cannot say the first time a country makes an agreement of peace with another country that what they did is evil. First you have to understand what are the terms of that treaty, what's the purpose behind it. And it may be that a treaty is in the interest of the Muslims, even if the terms of the treaty are not necessarily favorable to Islam. Also, there is another issue when it comes to the Yahud, which is that, as we said, some of the ulama hold the view that you can't make a treaty with them, because they hold the view that these people they cannot stick to any single thing that they agree. And they're just a people who betrayal is ingrained in them. So some of the ulama took that view. Shaykh al-Islam took the view, you can't make a treaty with them. They don't have a concept of sticking to an agreement. لكن على كل حال, generally speaking, the non-Muslims, there's many times in history that Muslims have made treaties with non-Muslims, even the enemies that are trying to attack you, if that treaty serves the interest of Islam, even if the terms are not favorable. So even if you don't get what's fair, you may not get, the Muslims didn't get what was fair. Blocked from Umrah, the new Muslims have to be returned back, the people who leave have to be, they didn't get anything. It wasn't fairness to them. It wasn't a fair settlement. But it was in the interests of the Muslims. For that is an interesting point that a lot of people, maybe their first reaction is very negative. Like in this issue of forming treaties between you and between an enemy could be allowed under some circumstances. I'm not speaking about any specific country, and I'm not speaking about any specific treaty. But I'm just telling you that if you hear that a Muslim country made a treaty with a non-Muslim country, even if they're an enemy to Islam, you cannot just by that single fact make a judgment on it. You have to look at the terms of it and the reason behind it and the purpose behind it. If the purpose behind it is to allow their religion to flourish, that can be kufr. But if the purpose behind it is to give the Muslims respite while the Muslims develop and build themselves to be able, for a temporary amount of time, for that also is not necessarily forbidden. That's from the rulings we took. So that's an introduction to the surah. The surah is Madaniyah, as we said.